Did you know that truly intelligent people avoid certain behaviors that most people think are completely normal? If you've ever wondered what separates genuinely smart individuals from everyone else, it's not just about IQ scores or academic achievements. It's about the daily habits they absolutely refuse to engage in. Stay with me until the end, because the fifth thing on this list will completely change how you approach your own life. And it's something almost everyone does without even realizing how much it's holding them back. Let's get one thing clear right from the start. Intelligence isn't just about being book smart or solving complex equations. Real intelligence shows up in how people think, communicate, make decisions, and navigate the world around them. According to groundbreaking research in the Journal of Intelligence and Cognitive Psychology, highly intelligent individuals demonstrate specific behavioral patterns that differentiate them from the general population. And interestingly, it's often what they don't do that makes them stand out more than what they do. These aren't things they consciously avoid because someone told them to. These are natural tendencies that emerge from how their minds process information and interact with reality. The first thing highly intelligent people never do is pretend to know things they don't actually know. This is huge, so pay close attention. Most people, when asked a question they don't know the answer to, will either make something up, give a vague response that sounds knowledgeable, or deflect the question entirely because admitting, "I don't know," feels like admitting weakness or stupidity. But genuinely intelligent people do the exact opposite. They have absolutely no problem saying, "I don't know, I'm not sure about that," or "I need to research that before I can give you an accurate answer." Why? Because they understand that pretending to know something you don't is far more foolish than admitting your knowledge gaps. Their confidence doesn't come from appearing to know everything, it comes from knowing what they actually know and being honest about what they don't. They're not threatened by gaps in their knowledge because they see them as opportunities to, rather than weaknesses to hide. This intellectual humility is one of the clearest signs of true intelligence, because it shows they value truth and accuracy more than their ego or how others perceive them. The second thing highly intelligent people never do is engage in pointless arguments or try to win every debate. Think about this carefully because it reveals something profound about how intelligence actually works. When you encounter someone who argues about everything, who always needs to be right, who turns every conversation into a competition they must win, you're not witnessing intelligence, you're witnessing insecurity. Truly intelligent people choose their battles extremely carefully. They don't waste mental energy trying to convince someone who isn't open to changing their perspective. They don't feel compelled to correct every wrong statement they hear. They don't engage with people who argue in bad faith or who aren't genuinely interested in truth. Why? Because they understand that some discussions are productive and lead to mutual learning, while others are just ego battles that accomplish nothing. They can distinguish between a conversation worth having and a pointless argument that drains energy without producing any value. When they do engage in discussions, it's because they genuinely want to explore ideas, understand different perspectives, or arrive at better conclusions, not because they need to prove they're smarter than someone else. Now here's where things get really interesting, and this is your midpoint revelation that changes everything. Highly intelligent people never stop learning, but here's the twist. They also never pretend they've learned everything from superficial exposure. Let me explain what I mean. In today's world, everyone has access to information. You can watch a YouTube video, read a Wikipedia article, or scroll through social media and feel like you've learned something. Most people do this and then speak with confidence about topics they've barely scratched the surface of. But highly intelligent people have a completely different relationship with knowledge. They understand the difference between exposure and mastery, between knowing about something and actually understanding it deeply. They don't watch one documentary about physics and then act like they're qualified to debate physicists. They don't read one article about psychology and suddenly think they can diagnose everyone around them. They have what psychologists call epistemic humility, which means they understand how much they don't know, even in areas where they do have knowledge. They recognize that real expertise takes years of study, practice, and experience, and they respect that process. This makes them perpetual students of life who are always learning, always questioning, always digging deeper, but never pretending they've arrived at complete understanding. The third thing highly intelligent people never do is make decisions based purely on emotions in the moment. Notice I said purely and in the moment, because this distinction is critical. Intelligent people aren't emotion robots. They feel things deeply, they have strong emotional responses, and they absolutely consider their emotions when making decisions. But here's what they don't do. They don't let temporary emotional states dictate major decisions. When they're angry, they don't send that email, make that phone call, or have that confrontation. When they're excited, they don't immediately commit to something without thinking through the implications. When they're sad or discouraged, they don't make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. They've developed what neuroscientists call emotional regulation, which is the ability to feel emotions fully while not being controlled by them. They create space between feeling and action. They ask themselves questions like, will I feel the same way about this tomorrow? Next week? Next month? They understand that emotions provide important information about what matters to them, but that information needs to be processed through rational thought before it becomes action. This doesn't make them cold or calculating, it makes them wise, because they avoid the regret that comes from impulsive decisions made during emotional peaks and valleys. Before I reveal the fourth thing, I need you to do something, and there's real psychology behind this request. If anything I've said so far has resonated with you, if you've recognized these patterns in yourself, or in people you admire, or if you're learning something that's shifting your perspective on intelligence, hit that like button right now. Here's why this matters. Intelligence isn't about making other people feel stupid. It's about elevating everyone's thinking. When you engage with content like this, when you like and comment below telling me which of these points resonated most with you, you're not just supporting this channel, you're contributing to a culture that values real intelligence over fake expertise, depth over superficiality, and wisdom over ego. Your engagement helps this message reach people who need to hear it, people who might be confusing intelligence with arrogance, or who might be hiding their own intelligence because they think being smart means being a know-it-all. So, comment, and let's build a community of people who appreciate what intelligence actually looks like. The fourth thing highly intelligent people never do is surround themselves with people who only agree with them or who never challenge their thinking. This is counterintuitive because most people seek comfort, validation, and agreement. We naturally gravitate toward people who think like us, who share our values, who confirm what we already believe. But highly intelligent people actively seek out the opposite. They want people in their lives who will disagree with them respectfully, who will point out flaws in their reasoning, who will bring perspectives they haven't considered, who will challenge their assumptions and push them to think more deeply. They understand that growth doesn't happen in echo chambers. You don't become smarter by only talking to people who tell you you're right about everything. You become smarter by engaging with people who make you defend your ideas, refine your arguments, and sometimes completely change your mind. Intelligent people aren't threatened by being proven wrong, they're actually excited by it because it means they just learned something new and improved their understanding. They've cultivated what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset, which means they believe their intelligence can develop through effort and learning, rather than being a fixed trait they need to protect. This makes them incredibly selective about who they spend time with, not in a snobbish way, but in an intentional way. They seek out people who elevate their thinking, not people who just make them feel smart. And perhaps most surprising thing highly intelligent people never do is mistake busyness for productivity or confuse activity with achievement. In today's hustle culture, everyone brags about how busy they are, how many hours they work, how packed their schedule is, how they barely have time to sleep. But highly intelligent people see through this completely. They understand that being busy doesn't mean you're being effective. They know that working 80 hours a week on the wrong things accomplishes less than working 20 hours a week on the right things. They prioritize ruthlessly, focusing on high-impact activities that actually move them toward meaningful goals, and they say no to everything else, even if those things seem important or urgent to other people. They've internalized what Peter Drucker taught. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Most people are obsessed with efficiency, getting more done faster, optimizing their time, multitasking constantly. But intelligent people are obsessed with effectiveness, making sure that what they're doing actually matters before they worry about doing it efficiently. This means they often appear less busy than others. They have more free time, more space to think, more capacity to be present, because they're not wasting energy on activities that don't contribute to their actual goals. They understand that rest, reflection, and unstructured time aren't luxuries or signs of laziness. They're essential components of creativity, problem solving, and sustainable high performance. Here's what makes highly intelligent people so different when you combine all 5 of these traits. They're not trying to appear smart, they're trying to be accurate. They're not trying to win arguments, they're trying to discover truth. They're not pretending to know everything, they're acknowledging how much there is to learn. They're not letting emotions control them, they're using emotions as information. They're not surrounding themselves with yes people, they're seeking out challenge and growth. And they're not confusing motion with progress, they're focusing on what actually matters. This complete package creates individuals who are not only intellectually capable, but also emotionally mature, socially aware, and genuinely effective in whatever they pursue. Now, here's the secret that ties everything together. True intelligence